From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
This looks like a time for me, so everybody just follow me, because we need a little controversy, because it feels so empty.
The altruistic utopia never seems to get delivered. Policies of Democrats are easy to see. Just take a ride past the ghettos they create. When I saw this story, I thought of my next guest.
Fencing has been erected around the emergency department of Franciscan Health Hammond. And officials say the ER will close permanently at 12 noon tomorrow, leaving Northwest Indiana's largest city without a hospital.
In Chicago, hospitals in poor areas, the workers are on strike. They will shut down as well. That is what Obamacare produced, aside from quadrupling the premium costs, as Jonathan Gruber promised us would happen. In the meantime, my next guest has been putting a fight up against this since the beginning. His name is Paul Seegert. He's the managing partner at PCS Advisors, health benefit consulting firm with 35 partner offices across the nation. Paul, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Very good. This is the utopia that we were promised. It doesn't look so good, Paul.
No. Well, no, they're taking us in a direction that's not great. And in this example, to me, it's easy to look at an article like this and say, look at these dirty nonprofits, these Catholic health systems or whoever. They're supposed to be getting all these tax breaks to help the poor, and how greedy of them to close these facilities in these poor areas, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, I spend all day working on the payment side of this business. And so then I know these facilities, it's the same reason we're losing hospitals in rural areas consistently. These hospitals cannot survive on the reimbursements they get from Medicare, Medicaid, or Obamacare exchange plans. They lose money on those customers. And then they're getting tax breaks because they lose money on the uninsured and the poor in those areas. But the tax breaks aren't enough to offset the losses, or they'd stay.
And from the government side of this equation, they can't keep up either. Every spending bill is about more money down the black hole of socialized medicine. Every single omnibus, every time they cut a check, you can't fill the void. So my question to you is, do you still have faith that the American people, I mean, we know that the majority do not want this.
Right.
Are they going to demand that this stop, or are we just going to pretend it's not bankrupting us? I'm curious to know, because you're on the bill pay side.
Right.
It's been going on for 13, 14 years, man. It's crazy.
No, and it's only made it worse. Clearly, our quick Obamacare report card deductibles are up 87%, premiums more than that for lots of people. And the one we don't talk enough about, we put 100 million Americans in medical debt. There's only 30 million uninsured, so at any given time. Less right now because of all the extra subsidies out there. So most of them have insurance. And yet I still do have optimism. As long as employers are in the game of providing health care, they can't just print more money to pay for something that's overpriced. They have to make the dollars last. They only have what they have. And more employers are figuring out, hey, I can do something about this, and they are. But on and that's the bright spot, is that if you have mid-market employers and larger employers, they have enough weight to do something about it. The negative that I see, or the scary part of this, to me, is the fact that you have a system it's pricing out small employers.
Yes.
Which employ a ton of Americans.
Yes.
So we've crossed a critical number to me. 20 years ago, 2 out of 3 of us got our health coverage at work, which is why these nonprofit hospitals could survive the fact that the government didn't pay them enough to provide care to their customers. Because 2 out of 3 people that showed up got their coverage at work, and they would get more money from them, and it would cover the losses. Today, we're at 49%. That's happened during the pandemic. Less than half of us. This is, to me,
wow.
We should be talking about this every day, loudly, And I don't know anybody who's talking about it.
So it used to be 70% of us?
Me. Yeah. And now we're down to
70% of Americans got their insurance from their employer. Now it's 49.
And I know some people are listening saying, well, good, employers shouldn't have to do this. Well, I understand that that's an interesting conversation to have, and there's a whole history to it, and fringe benefits, and World War II, and all kind of stuff that got employers into this. But I think we're going to be glad they're involved. And it's scary to me that less and less of them are staying involved or can afford to stay involved, because when an employer plan person shows up at a hospital and they pay 350% for the same service that a Medicaid patient gets, that's what keeps that hospital open. That's what funds the quality of health care that we all enjoy in this country. That's why 60,000 Canadians fly down here who can afford it to get their knee replacement here or whatever else, because of the quality of what we have.
That's the side that doesn't get enough attention in my book. And I'll tell you what I mean by that.
Very little. Yeah.
I want my doctor to be filthy, fracking rich. Filthy rich. I want him to have a jet, girlfriends on both coasts. I don't care. I want him to be the best. But yet, what do you call a D student who passes the medical board exam? Doctor. And that's what this kind of system really produces. A bunch of step and fetch morons that have no idea what they're doing in an arena that you could argue, well, hey, Galileo made it to 84. Have they really made that much progress anyway?
Yeah, it's true. Well, you can only ration something two ways, price or line. So, yeah, and I vote for price, and I just think we should have some more common sense rules in place. I'm a free market person, but we actually haven't had a free market yet.
No.
In real terms in healthcare. The insurance payment model is hidden so much from the consumer. They're out there consuming in terms of copays and deductibles that have no relation to real cost. I can prove to you in 2 or 3 sentences, free market forces work in healthcare, just like they do in so many other things. Look at LASIK. I guess it was 1 sentence.
Yeah.
You got something that
right.
The quality has gone up and the cost has gone down over time because it's a cash procedure. So they have no choice but to compete in the marketplace. Look at cosmetic procedures. So many things like this. That's what we need for healthcare. We need to actually take it seriously and create transparency or require transparency. And all the attempts to date have just been half-hearted, is the nicest way I can say it. Sounds great, but they don't enforce it. Or it's just, a joke, really.
And, Paul, it's interesting because Donald Trump made some really impressive executive orders. Really impressive. From hospitals listing the cost of things to big pharma having to list the cost of things and alter. He did some great things. But the reality is that was all undone because it was done by a president.
Yes, day one.
Right. It was done by a president, not these same congressional whores who are going to seize control of a new Congress. So this could have been fixed if the people we sent in the original pushback against Obamacare did what they were supposed to do. Is that fair to say?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They didn't present alternatives. They just said, let's just shoot this thing down. Well, tell us what you're going to replace it with. And there were parts that people liked. People liked the fact that there were no pre-existing conditions and clauses. And so there's 2 or 3 things that people liked. Fine, keep them. But propose some common sense good changes. And now we're so far into it, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it, but we have to make changes.
And then you have the corrupt elephant in the room, Big Pharma, who owns,
without a doubt,
every politician, every media outlet, and every policy. So you've got, 4 of them, 5 of them that control everything. You've got a country that takes 85% of all antidepressant medication in the world.
Right.
That's the part that the
we provide 80% of global profits for Big Pharma or on the backs of the American consumer. It's not that all the drugs are getting sold here universally to that degree, but we don't put the free market forces in place for this fifth of our economy. It's crazy.
And then you've got self-induced issues where the largest illness among people on welfare is obesity and obesity-related illnesses.
That's right.
I mean, are you kidding me, man? This is I use the analogy of socialism as a snake eating its tail, pretending to be a good hunter. At a certain point, the snake dies. Will the system of Obamacare, of government medicine, will it die, or will it lie the way it has lied to continue the stronghold on the very people it's giving a disservice to, on those very low-income people who are suffering in these hellholes run by the same ideologues?
Well, we have to have massive change, and I don't have great confidence that that's going to occur. My optimism is that employers will continue to fight as they have. That's a slow process. Can it happen in time? I don't know. They really need to talk. We do need some change. We need some common sense guardrails that would enforce a free market system, enforce transparency from the top down. But as you pointed out, I mean, the healthcare lobby is bigger than the next five combined. Money is given with such precision. You'll see right now we're watching a change from a Democrat House to a Republican House with a slim majority. Well, you can watch the money will shift exactly like that. And so things will continue to kind of plod along.
One of the things that really nauseated me was when they named the vaccine Warp Speed. I don't like anything fast that has to be created by Big Pharma.
Yeah.
And then they indemnified Big Pharma from the ramifications of anything that goes wrong. We're one of two countries that did that, yet the rest of the world did not. And the European Parliament is having a hell of a time going after our Big Pharma. They're making settlements in Australia, $250,000 for people who are suffering the Jimmy leg, the Bell's palsy, and the rest of it. Do you think that maybe within the failure that is the vaccine is some hope that the people will start to demand this be ripped out by its roots the way it should be?
Well, I hope so. We need to demand accountability. I mean, our system that a free market should require transparency and accountability. I mean, if we could give it two words, those would be the words. And yet what we've done, and then so you look at the way we're doing it, we don't have transparency. We don't have accountability. So then what is our system? It's capitalism run amok. I mean, it's people that are influencing government to create rules that allow them to just simply profiteer. That's corporatism, yeah. That's corporatism. And we've devolved into corporatism. And it's funny, I was reading the lucrative drug deal discounts offering more in wealthy communities. This is what happens when this kind of thing. The wealthier separate. There is no middle. There's just poor and rich. Is that what happens even in something like drug discounts? Are you seeing that? Sure it is. Well, sure it is, because the effort required to get it requires a level of sophistication and education that favors one group over the other. Absolutely.
Really? So I eat mangoes in the morning. I do my push-ups. I haven't been to the doctor since 1982. I bet I live a lot longer than these people on medications. What do you think?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. My kid had an earache, and so we're showing him how to drink more water. It's just be healthy. Go for a run. My wife went for a run. My 9-year-old daughter went for a run with her.
Do you see how in the schools
how to live right?
Hasn't it been implemented in such a diabolical way? Do you see in the schools how for the last, say, 15 years, there's been a push to all kinds of medication and special numbers, and now you've got a tremendous amount of kids that grow up being told by their teachers and their parents that they're depressed and a pill will fix it.
Yeah, right.
That's the perfect recipe for a future generations that rely
and
more
we're
on
normalizing obesity, which is just crazy. We're just normalizing it. So then you have to take, in our home, I mean, we're respectful of all people. However, I do point out, I mean, that's not healthy. That's not normal. Obesity is unhealthy. It's 85 or 86% of the dollars we spend on healthcare in this country are the result of chronic illnesses that are the result of unhealthy lifestyle choices.
I'll
So
tell you,
instead of
Paul,
talking about that, we're going to put everybody on Wegovy and whatever, we're going to take diabetes drugs and just start giving them to the general population.
I blame
That's
Lululemon.
the right approach.
I blame Lululemon and the rest of the yoga pant business. If they started making those things above a size 12, you knew it was going to be downhill. In the meantime, Paul Seegert, I rely on PCS advisors, good advice, and when I'm elected Speaker of the House, you'll be my consigliere on all things health. Do we have a deal?
We do. We do.
Wonderful. Paul, thank you so much. PCS Advisors, where can the people go? PCSadvisors.com?
Yep, that's it.
Keep it up. Keep writing the articles. I'm reading them. I love them. Thank you very much.